Papa John's original CEO has recently been given approval to take a court case to trial where he's suing another company because during a private conversation, they recorded the audio. Papa John says that they took that audio, edited it, and then gave it to social media, major media, in an attempt to ruin his reputation and basically paint him in a racist, prejudiced light. Papa John eventually ended up relinquishing his position and stepping down from the company in 2018. Now, all these years later, he's taking a court case to trial in an attempt to try to win money, as well as clear his reputation and basically try to legally prove that this company purposely and maliciously tried to ruin his character. Now, for a little bit of context, in 2018, Papa John sat down with an advertising company called Laundry Service in order to understand better advertising tactics, as well as to specifically avoid saying inflammatory or hurtful things that may hurt his business. Ironically enough, the entire conversation had started because a couple of months earlier, Papa John's had made a statement about his distaste and dislike of protests that would happen during the NFL anthem. At this time, a lot of American football players would take a knee during the national anthem in order to protest police brutality. A lot of NFL viewers didn't like it, and because of that, boycotted the NFL. At the same time, the President of the United States even said it was something that he didn't like, and Papa John piped up and basically said, by hurting the NFL, you are hurting Papa John's because we're the official sponsor of the NFL, and that he wanted these protests to stop so that pizza sales could increase. Now, this came off really bad because he didn't say it in any type of way of, I oppose these protests because I believe that police are good people, or he said that I think it should just stop, it should just be about the sport. He basically made it sound like he only cared about the money, which the statement really does say that, you know, I care about pizza sales, let's stop this. And it came off very bad, and eventually the NFL actually dropped him as an official sponsor. Ironically enough, he was no longer CEO at that time, but it was because of his statements that the NFL ended up dropping Papa John's. And what ended up happening in this conversation that he was having with Laundry Service, the whole idea was for him to learn how to speak a little bit more professionally, a little less inflammatory, and essentially toe that corporate line of just sucking up to everyone and hoping that you make money as opposed to hurting your business. Now, unfortunately, Papa John was still hot under the collar for people not liking his first statement about the NFL, and he went on a rant, and in that rant, he actually says Colonel Sanders used to call black people the N-word with a hard R, and they still like his chicken, as if to say that what Papa John said wasn't even that bad. Why are people even mad at me? But again, he kind of did it in the context of saying that, you know what, they were treated even worse by Colonel Sanders and they ate his chicken. Why are they coming after me? It's almost like if he had said something homophobic and then he's like, yo, Chick-fil-A said more homophobic stuff than me, and then people still are eating their chicken. So it kind of came off as off the cuff, kind of disrespectful, not professional. Granted, in the context, it's a crazy statement saying Colonel Sanders said that, but at least it doesn't sound as bad as what the media had said and what I had originally heard, which is that Papa John's just said the N-word.
When you first heard that tape, the one that was taped internally by Laundry Service, what was your reaction?
Well, I used to tell my friends, I said, you know, you're not going to believe this. I think I was set up. And now with the tape, it's like they understand because it's so far-fetched that an agency that's supposed to be your protector is actually going to set you up to be the worst thing you can be in this day and age, in this situation at this time, is to be painted as a racist.
Saying Schnatter's comments were neither intended nor can reasonably be interpreted to reflect any racial bias, and that his comments were wildly taken out of context by some media and others.
So if you never heard the audio and you just heard the news, you would think to yourself, okay, did Papa John's call one of his employees the N-word? Did Papa John's like scream at someone? Was he racist? Did he go on a racial tirade? Granted, what he said wasn't very professional and it wasn't very apropos in a business setting or any real conversation in the professional corporate world, but at least it wasn't as bad as saying a racist remark towards another person or even saying a racist statement. But basically that advertising company took Papa John's private audio, edited it, is what Papa John's alleges, and then sent it out to different media distributions in order to try to spread the news and try to expose him as being a terrible racist. And it ended up working because Papa John basically got a bunch of flack. The company started getting nuked on the stock market. And eventually, whether it be by his own choice or board of members for the company, they ended up having Papa John step down as CEO, and he basically gave it up. Papa John did apologize for this, but it didn't really mean much of anything. At that time, people just didn't want to hear it, and Papa John basically got canned. And in one way, I can kind of see it Papa John's way, where he literally was taking out of context, and the idea was to maliciously hurt his character. And at the same time, time, he did say what he said, and he did admit to it. But really, when you look at Papa John, you kind of feel bad for the guy just because he is Papa John. He's the guy. Like, when I think of Papa John's, I immediately think of this dude. I have no idea who the new CEO is. That's the same way as when Vince McMahon got kicked out of the WWE. You can remove him, but he's still the CEO in my mind. And the thing is with Papa John is that you could really tell he did not want to give up his position. If you look at his Instagram, it's pretty much a treasure trove of him talking about Papa John's, talking about the pizza, and even taking videos of people sending him pictures and videos where they show a Papa John pizza where it doesn't look good or doesn't look as appetizing, or the cheese is upside down in the box, and Papa John replies to it on Instagram or TikTok, and he's like, when I was CEO, we had quality. We didn't give up. We were there. And in a heated interview where after he was ousted as CEO, he basically sounds like the Joker, talking about his love and affection for pizza.
I've had over 40 pizzas in the last 30 days, and it's not the same pizza. It's not the same product. It just doesn't taste as good. The way they're making the pizza, the way they're putting the pizza together is just not fundamentally sound to what makes a Papa John's pizza a Papa John's pizza. I would just say, stay tuned. The day of reckoning will come. The record will be straight.
Why not set the record straight now? I mean, what is it about the record that's not straight?
Stay tuned.
How soon will that happen?
Stay tuned. Sooner than later.
So it's safe to say that the passion never left him. He still wanted to be Papa John. He still wanted to be part of a company. And unfortunately, it seemed like he had basically flown too close to the sun. He was too haughty. He was too arrogant. Almost immediately after he had made statements about protests in the NFL, he basically gets caught saying the N-word in a conversation, whether it be private or not. It basically took his public image and degraded it even further. But it looks like he might have some type of reprieve, whether it comes to his reputation or monetary-wise, because he is taking this case to trial. It was approved to go to trial. So it seems like there's enough information there for it to actually be seen by a judge. And maybe Papa John's going to end up getting a fat check like when Hulk Hogan sued Gawker and got $100 million. It's still up for debate. I think at the end of the day, if Papa John does win this case, it still won't be the same for him. If he could become CEO again, he probably would not even care about the money. He seems like someone who's just bored and wants to talk about pizza with people in a boardroom. And unfortunately, he got a little bit too hot under the collar, said a little bit too much crazy stuff. He lost his job, he lost his passion, and this just might end up being a consolation prize.
At the end of every single video, make sure you ask people to rate and subscribe to your content. It makes them feel like they're involved even though they're really not. And most importantly, make sure they comment on every single video. If you have to, disguise it. Call it something like the question of the day. And really make them think you're gonna really read it when you really don't have to. Ha ha ha!